Hello! I have spent 10 minutes talking to the camera and you, my friend, were not turned on. I'm sure every YouTuber has done it, but like 10 minutes? Really? In advance, I have to apologise for the wind. You may be able to hear it because it's horrible out there at the moment. The weather outside is truly frightful. Fire is so delightful? The fire is so delightful. That seems wrong. Anyway, so some people may have noticed, but I have a lisp. It's very, very slight. I've had it since I was a child. It's kind of always been there. It's not nearly as bad as it was, but it's just slightly on the periphery of the letter S for me. Like, it's not like a full-blown... It just blurs the reality somewhat between the S and the sound. You may not have picked up on it, in which case... Great! Normally, in my day-to-day conversations, I think I'm generally okay. If I try really hard, I can kind of mute it. If I try too hard, then it sounds ridiculous because I'm accenting the S completely. It gets worse when I'm tired and when I drink, when I'm not consciously trying to hide it, really. I was watching another YouTube video of this person with a lisp, and I thought, you know what, there's people out there, and they have lisps. And there should be books for people with lisps, so that they can read uninhibited. So this may be a new thing that I do regularly, I'm not sure yet, and I'm going to call it Reading Aloud and Proud, Books for the Speech Impaired. It annoys me that there are lots of S's in that. It also annoys me that there is an S in Lisp and speech impediment. Reading Aloud and Proud, Books for the Speech Impaired. I thought, hey, what books do I own which have less than the average number of S's per page, so that people who have problems with the letter S can read them without feeling inhibited. Social justice, right here. This is important stuff. This could revolutionise literature as we know it, really. So this video is the best young adult books to read if you have a problem with the letter S. Basically, if you were a complete madman and or had too much time on your hands, you'd start out by picking up a young adult book and counting the number of words on a sample number of pages, which I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I took 3 pages per book, page 50, 150 and 250, so they were like spread out. If one of the pages I picked was the start or end of a chapter, and thus was less than a full page, I just went to the next page. So then I could calculate the number of words that that book has, on average, given a sample size of 3. Which, I'm going to grant you, is a very small sample size. The possibility for human error and variation in this is huge. So then, after you know the number of words per page on average, you'd have to take another sample size of words to count. I chose 100 words from each page, so 300 in total. Again, a very small sample size. So extrapolating data here from 300 words for an entire book. It's not brilliant, and the way I did that is entirely as you would think. Reading aloud 100 words per page of this book, counting every time that I lisped. And Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. I counted every instance of the sound S, so that's every time the letter S comes up, except when it's a sh sound. A flaw with this is if you have a word ending in a S and the word beginning in a S next to each other, it's stopped is it's stopped, it's stopped. It's one sound. You kind of meld them into one. I counted them separately to allow for the space, because if you started reading halfway through a sentence, like that's a problem, that's a thing. So the results. And for these I need my scientific glasses, which I just stole from my wife. Bloody hell. Okay, she's pretty blind. Everything is just kind of blurry on the sides. I may not wear the science glasses, which are prescription lenses. So we have The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, The Maze Runner by James Dashner, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling, Every Day by David Leatherfan, Cinder by Marissa Meyer, and Divergent by Veronica Roth. Oh, my eyes. I chose these books because they're all kind of young adult. Sure, Harry Potter's more maybe children, but I think everyone can enjoy that, so let's average that down to young adult, because it takes in old people and young people. Most of my young adult stuff is fantasy, which is why I've got like Divergent and Cinder in there. So initially I was going to count the number of S's per page, but there's a problem with that, in that some pages contain more words than others. For example, the Maze Runner has a calculated average of 119,462 words. As there are 33,449 instances of the sound S, we can calculate that an S pops up around 28% of the time. I was thinking some would be like 60%, some would be like 10. The problem with S is it's really common, hence why it scores so low in Scrabble. And I think the reason for this is because it pops up in prepositions like is and was, also plurals. But it does differ, and to be fair, the variation could encapsulate it. I couldn't be bothered to calculate averages with standard deviations or variance levels because that requires more data, and I didn't really want to collect more data because it took me long enough as it was. So what I'm going to do is give you the number of instances of the letter S per 100 words. This for me seemed like the most reliable variable because it takes into account the fact that books can differ by the number of pages, the number of words per page, the number of words in the book. The worst offender for this is Cinder. Cinder has a whopping 32 instances of the sound S per 100 words. Divergent, also 32, but less if we go beyond significant figures. The Fault in Our Stars, 30. Hunger Games, 29. Maze Runner, 28. Everyday, 27. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, 21. 21 instances of the sound S per 100 words. This one definitely significantly less than, for example, Divergent. But the thing is, I don't really like number of S's per 100 words because it's a long sounding thing, and yes, it's the best variable to take with quite a bit of data. However, I prefer, for aesthetic reasons, what I'm going to call SSPP, which is the number of S's per page. SSPP. Just because it sounds funny. Anyway, it's the number of S's per page on average. So this is something for you as the reader to look at a particular book that you're considering reading, to look at the size of the font, look how many pages there are, and you can make an estimate of how many S's you're going to have to encounter while reading that book. From highest to lowest, Maze Runner, 89 SSPP. Mostly because it is dense as fuck. The Fault in Our Stars, 77 SSPP. Divergent, 75 SSPP. Cinder, 73 SSPP. PP. Hunger Games, 70 SSPP. Everyday, 58 SSPP. And the winner yet again is Harry Potter with 55 SSPP. This is also based on what edition of the book you're reading. If you have more words per page, you'll have more S's per page, but then you have less pages. So SSPP is, I think, robust in that respect. I therefore announce that the young adult author with the most sparse use of the letter S is J.K. Rowling. Other people would talk about experimenter error, lack of variation, or even small sample sizes. And believe me, small sample sizes is no small thing to say. For me, anyway. To them, I say... Anyway, there you go. So today's conclusion for Reading Aloud and Proud, books to read if you're speechily incapacitated. I've forgotten what I called it earlier on. I should have written it down, really. If you liked this video and you want to see more of this sort of stuff, then please like or comment, because I've got no way of telling whether this is a good idea to do or not. I've got a feeling it might anger some people. I don't intend to cause offence if you have a speech impediment, but if you do and you thought this was humorous, let me know. And I can do other letters or other genres, because maybe the young adult genre is just a particularly S-heavy genre, or an S-light genre. But if you enjoyed this, let me know. Also, really quickly, I am doing 2 readathons this month. Hashtag Read Red Rising, which is a Red Rising read-along, so I'm going to join in with that. But also I'm going to be doing as much as I can of the hashtag Harry Xmas to You, which is a Harry Potter read-along. And as I haven't read Harry Potter in a very long time, and, because I know that J.K. Rowling now has a low use of the letter S in her works, I'm going to give that a go. And I'm not going to finish all of them, I don't think, but I'm going to, see how it goes, really. So yeah, there'll be a few videos on that, maybe once a week or something. So yeah, thanks very much for watching.